Hello and welcome to the 48 Minutes of Heaven we call the D1Baseball.com podcast. I am your host, Michael Patrick Rooney. Boog, you are correct. I am, in fact, the pride of Newtown Edgemont Little League. Hashtag 1982 District 19 Champs. Go Green Machine. I am joined by one of the great New Englanders of all time, Aaron J. Fitt. Fitzy, is that too big of a claim, or can you live up to that?
I think that's objectively true. I mean, take that, Daniel
Objectively
Webster.
true. Thank you for that. And we are also joined by the D1Baseball.com czar of GIFs or GIFs, depending on how you feel about that type of thing. Kendall J. Rogers. Kendall, ¿qué pasó?
I'll tell you what, man. I'm glad to be here. It's a great night. I just want to congratulate Aaron on Tom Brady deciding to come back for another year. I know that's made his year. Like the year could end now, and he's happy.
You know, as a longtime Bucks fan. I personally was ready for Gabbert time. I mean, like I turned the page. Like I feel like Tom is doing us all a disservice. America wanted Gabbert time, and we're not going to get it. And I just think that's wrong.
Hey, Fitzy, you go first, Kendall, and then I got a follow-up question.
Well, I have a question. So, as a longtime Bucks fan, who was their quarterback when they won the Super Bowl?
Oh, the immortal Brad Johnson! Come on, get out of here! Get out of here!
I was hoping you would. I'd throw you like a fastball and you would just totally whiff on it.
Smoked it over.
Doug Williams was the quarterback for the Bucks forever when they were the Yucks, and then he won a Super Bowl with the Redskins, right? Or the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins. Is that accurate?
I believe that is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Fitzy, okay, here's my follow-up question. If you were editing social media for TB12, for Tom Brady, and he tried to throw a phrase out there like unfinished business. I saw this on social media today. 22 years, 7 Super Bowls, unfinished business. Would you have encouraged him for another phrase, maybe?
The man's got 10 fingers. All right. He's only got 7 rings. I mean, you tell me when the business is finished. It's not finished yet, Rudes.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome.
He hasn't won enough Super Bowls. He has a lot of unfinished business to take care of.
Oh, so great.
Berkeley's boy Peyton's only got 2, just for the record. I want to get that out there.
Chris from Louisville.
That's we're already 30 seconds in. We already got our Chris from Louisville shout out. So Chris from Louisville excited because the SEC starts play, the greatest regular season in college baseball this week. So let's go. Boys, tonight's podcast brought to you by the D1PS, the D1 Players Society. I listened to the podcast, our guy Wes Burton with Devontae Brown. That was very entertaining. And I also want to plug, we have another podcast in the D1 baseball family, the Shock Factor, with our guy Steven Shock and Jake and Jordan from the Cesspis Barbecue. It's always very hard to say. Those guys are hilarious. By the way, I want to encourage everyone, listen to the whole podcast, but if you go to the 40-minute mark, we all saw on social media that Peyton Chatagnier of Ole Miss went from first to home on a pickoff, I think it was, and those guys broke that whole play down. Steven Shock sent it up perfectly. He basically said sometimes on the baseball field, everyone on the field just forgets how to play baseball at the same time. And that's what happened to Alcorn State. And I think the catcher for Alcorn State, his first name is Peyton also. So Jake or Jordan, I can't remember which, but they referred to it as a Peyton on Peyton crime. It was that whole segment. I almost had to pull my car over. Those guys nailed it.
That was so bad, by the way.
I lost it when they were talking about the Hispanic Titanic. And they're like, the Titanic didn't really end well. I mean, it's going to sink. I mean, there's a reason there's nobody called the Jewish Hindenburg. I mean,
that's right.
I think it's a great point. Point.
Jake did refer to himself as the Jewish Hindenburg, his college pitching. Yeah, and that would not be a good nickname at all. So anyway, they're so excited. So many great things happening at D1 Baseball. The podcast, the writing has been amazing. So we are pumped. Boys, because the writing has been so thorough and so good, what I thought we could do tonight is I just want to fire questions at you guys. I really wasn't in the mood for the generic takes. And so let's get nutty, as George Costanza would say. Now let's get nuts. Hey, now I did have homework, gentlemen, and I want to turn in my homework, and I'm afraid that I am not going to get a good grade, but we're going to turn the homework in regardless. So, are you ready?
Hit me.
My homework was to give Brad Malm of Albany, who now is leading the country in home runs with Derek Orndorff of Liberty. They both have 10. I was to give Brad Malm a nickname.
I forgot about your homework. I'm glad you remembered that. See, the teacher forgot, the student remembered.
That's right. Now, I want the Malm family to know you have done me no favors here. Brad Malm, I mean, come on, what am I supposed to do with this? But I got to work on the internet. I did some homework. And Brad Malm is the fifth-year senior shortstop of the Albany Great Danes. So I got on the Googling of Great Danes. And did you guys know that Great Danes were they were originally hunting dogs? Did you guys know that?
Of course.
I did.
Yes, I'm sure you did. Okay, so let's get to the nicknames. Hey, by the way, Derek Orndorff, he's getting a nickname tonight, and he's getting a good one. So Derek Orndorff of Liberty, who's got 10 bombs, we are calling him Mr. Wonderful from now on, a.k.a. Paul Orndorff from wrestling fame in the 80s. So Derek Orndorff, you guys don't have to participate, but I'm calling him Mr. Wonderful from now on.
I feel like we can do, hey, I appreciate the effort, but I feel like we can do better.
Well, go. You knock yourself out because I'm still tangling. I'm still stuck with Malm over here. Yeah, please.
Okay.
Please. I think Mr. Wonderful is pretty strong though. So you have to.
I think it's pretty strong too. I didn't get the reference, but I think it's pretty strong.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I was a huge wrestling nut in the 80s. So Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, pretty good. I'm pretty sure the vitamins he was taking didn't come from GNC. That's a different topic. Okay, so Brad Malm, I've got 4. Thank you, Brenton. I see you working. Hey, okay, I got 4 choices for Brad Malm. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
The Hunter.
Yeah.
I wanted to save my worst one for the last. I knew that one had a chance to not go well. I think Brad is an interesting first name. So how about Brad Bombs?
That's not bad.
That's better than the first one.
Okay, here's another choice. Malmalicious.
Ooh. I feel like that's too. I feel like Brad Malm would not like being called anything malicious. Like he just kind of looks like a guy who would get offended by that.
Okay, so my fourth option, Bradley the Great.
Not bad.
So your choices are the Hunter, Brad Bombs, Malmalicious, or Bradley the Great.
And I think we talked about this last week, but we have Tommy Tanks. I think it's only right that we have Brad Bombs. I think it works.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that's a good point because he is in fact ahead of Thomas Tanks.
Well, if we have Tommy Tanks, can we have Brad? Can we find a way to kind of mix it into the Bradley fighting vehicle?
The what? Oh, like
the Bradley fighting vehicle. It's like the fighting tank or whatever in the military. Tommy Tanks. We got to find a way to put like Brad.
You're trying too hard.
You're
trying too hard.
No,
that's duly noted. We'll take that away. But
we're spending 10 minutes on a podcast talking about some dude's nickname. Like, come on, you're gonna rag on me for trying too hard.
So, Fitzy, I hear you saying Brad Bombs is the favorite in the clubhouse right now.
Yeah,
I actually like Brad Bombs. I'm just trying to get a little bit more silly.
Yeah, I do like having the name Brad in there. Like that'd be a great awful name for a dog. I had a coworker that named her dog Steve, and I thought that was hilarious. It's like the least dog
Bad
name
Brad.
Ever.
My wife, when she was a kid, she named a cat Linda, which I always really enjoyed. Like, who names a cat Linda? Like, what is that?
That's great. Linda the cat.
Linda.
She also had a hamster that she named after her best friend, Katie Adams. The hamster's name was Katie Adams.
Oh, that's great. Gosh, well done, Virginia.
Joe, like, I'm going to probably mispronounce his last name, but Joe LeCate says it's got to be Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mr. Wonderful for Derek Orndorff, I think, is pretty strong. Bradley Bomber by Brenton. So we'll keep it.
Bradley Bombers. I like Bradley Bomber a little better than Brad Bombs.
Fitzy made a good point though. Tommy Tanks, Brad Bombs. Like that. There's a nice little. That might work. So anyway, we'll keep.
I want to know how else you would pronounce Joe LeCates, by the way. Lacates, like
Lacates.
What are you thinking here? That's an easy.
I like the Lacates.
Joe LeCates, long time reader, by the way. Shout out to Joe LeCates, one of my favorites.
Oh, I love it.
Joe Lacates.
Okay, so boys, we've done 10 minutes of nonsense, so we better get to the college baseball portion of the podcast.
I think people prefer the nonsense over talking about somebody's fastball.
Yeah, well, that's good. We may not get to fastballs tonight. So, all right, you guys ready? I'm going to just pepper you with questions that I promised to answer as well. So here we go. So we had a reluctant. I'm going to say this. We made a new number 1 this week. I was very reluctant in that scenario. I just felt like number one was lost, not earned this week, and that's not.
Happens.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not awesome. So, but it does happen. So here's my question for you guys. We now have had 2 teams ranked number 1 in the country. Well, when we get to the end of Omaha, how many teams will have been the number 1 ranked team in the country by the end of the year?
6.
6 for Fitzy? What are you saying, Kendall?
I'm going to go with 5.
I'm going to go 7. So 5, 6, 7.
I could see it. I mean, it's kind of interesting. There was a chat question today that somebody asked, when you look at all the teams in the top 10 or the top 12 or 13, do you feel like there's a lot of separation? There's really not. Like Texas, when Tanner Witt was healthy, I feel like there was significant separation. But now that he's out, I mean, they've lost 2 straight games on Sundays that he hasn't pitched. So at that point, you have to start feeling like Texas, at least on Sundays, is a little vulnerable now. So I feel like Ole Miss, for instance, or Texas or Arkansas could very easily lose a series to any of those teams all the way down to 19. I feel like easily.
Yeah, we don't have an Arkansas this year. I don't see one. Yeah. So all right. So I went 7. Fitzy, you did 5. Is that right?
Yeah.
He did 6.
No, I did 6.
Kendall did 7. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be fun. I think it's going to be interesting. Yeah, Ole Miss is just kind of lying in the weeds there, but I actually, I don't know if you'd agree with this, Fitzy. Ole Miss, I really like that club. They feel like an Omaha team to me, but man, I actually feel a little wobblier on their pitching than I did a month and a half ago. What's the kid from Corpus Christi? Gaddis? He's on Fridays now.
Gaddis,
yeah, he's really good. He can really pitch. I mean, it's maybe it's not a first round pick, but he's a legitimate Friday night guy. I think that will hold his own in the SEC. And I was actually encouraged, that Derek Diamond came back yesterday or Saturday. I think it was whatever. It was Sunday because it was a doubleheader. He was on a pitch count, but he gave him 4 innings, shut out one hit ball, and it sounds like he's working his way back to top form. So I feel fine about it. They need to figure out the third guy, whether it's Drew McDaniel, whether it's John Doherty, or Doherty. That one I don't know. That one's tough, Doherty or Doherty. But they got options.
It depends on where you're at. If you're actually in Worcester County, it would be Doherty. But if you're anywhere else in the United States, you're good with Doherty.
Or maybe Jack Washburn too. I mean, he started midweek for them. He's off to a pretty good start. So I still feel like they got plenty of options, and I still like their bullpen. I don't think it's as deep as some of their bullpens, but they got guys. I'm actually not worried about their pitching stuff. I think we all agree that the strength is the position player group, but I think their pitching's fine.
Was Derek Diamond hurt, or was he did they skip a turn, or what happened with him?
I don't know the details. I just know that he was on
but he hasn't made every start yet, but he's back. Yeah. So either way.
I'll say this though. I mean, we talk about Ole Miss's rotation and how we're not totally sold on the pitching staff, but when you look at let's just take the top 15 teams in the country, for example. How many of those teams were really that sold on their rotation? I mean,
can think of one.
Florida State with Messick and Hubbard.
And my man Ross Dunn, who was awesome yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to that in a second. But I mean, you look at Florida State, outside of that, I mean, Tennessee, I feel pretty good about Chase Burns and the Beam kid. But they're freshmen, they're about to go in the SEC, so there is a little bit of uncertainty there. But other than Florida State, maybe Notre Dame with all the experience. But I mean, those aren't really frontline dudes. So I mean,
Gonzaga, the Zags. That's the rotation I feel the best about.
Yeah, the number 25 team in the country. That's the rotation we feel the best about.
I mean, Florida State. Yeah,
I mean, it's just really interesting because all those teams in the top 15. I mean, Oregon State, if they were healthy, but Will Fritch is likely out for the year, and they've got other injuries. So
what about Vanderbilt?
It's interesting.
What about Vanderbilt? I feel like with McIlvain and Holton.
Holton threw really well over the weekend. Holton, by the way, not Hogan.
Yeah, well done. I mean that's what I feel pretty good about. And I think who do they start? Moore on Sunday, I believe.
Yeah, Grayson Moore started this Sunday.
I'm really high on him. I don't know how his line was, but really like the talent there. So yeah, I mean I think that's one that will be fine too. I think they've got actual guys that have dominant stuff there.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna come back to I have an Omaha question for you guys. It's gonna be more global in nature. So I just want to share this with you guys. This the great J-Ro, Jennifer Rooney, my wife, got her mad at me. I shouldn't have admitted this, but I did. I stayed up till like 1:30 in the morning Saturday night watching Hawaii and Rutgers. I just could not help myself on ESPN Plus. I am so intrigued by both teams. They both have pretty awesome uniforms, although Rutgers was wearing their worst uniform. It was really cool. But that brings me to this question. Who's winning the Big Ten? That's my question for you guys.
You're such a junkie. You got a problem, Bruce.
Seriously,
I still like Maryland. Actually, I was just talking to their staff today, and it sounds like Nick Dean's going to be back this weekend. He had some forearm tightness, but all the tests were negative, and he feels pretty good. So I think as long as they stay healthy, to me, they have by far the best week in rotation in that league. And I think ultimately that's what wins out.
Then there's another one if we're looking for rotations in the top 25 with Dean and Ryan Ramsey, the lefty, and Jason Savickle. They're actually talking to a scout about those guys this weekend, and he was saying, it's a real rotation. It's like, Dean is a really good pitcher, but Ramsey's got better stuff the next day, and then Savickle's got the best stuff of the three of them. So like the stuff gets better as you go. But I mean, Dean can really pitch. So yeah, it's I'm in on those guys. I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, I like Michigan.
Your question in a second, no, but yeah, let's go ahead. You were saying Michigan, KR?
I like Michigan's club. I like their lineup top to bottom, but my concern is the same concern that Eric Bakich had opening weekend. Their bullpen depth. I mean, you kind of saw it in one of the games against Louisville. They kind of got lit up late, but I mean, their bullpen depth isn't great. And if Willie Weiss, if they have to use him on a Friday, 3 or 4 innings or something like that, then screwed's probably not the right word, but they're in trouble the rest of the weekend. So the bullpen depth, I think, is something that's going to catch up with them as they get kind of deeper into the season and deeper into Big Ten play.
I'm going to offer Rutgers to you guys. Sure. Maryland is the choice, right? I mean, Maryland is very interesting, but man, Steve Owens is just unreal. And just watching them play Hawaii, first of all, Rutgers is freaking enormous. Like, they are so large. And so, which was so funny because Hawaii is tiny. And they play just completely different styles. Rutgers really doesn't have the pitching to win that league, but they got the swagger and the whole Jersey thing going on, the Steve Owens factor. I want to pick Iowa, but I know I'm just not ready to do it.
They've been a little iffy.
Yeah. I mean, they play such a rough schedule. It's hard to evaluate them at this point. But all that said, Rutgers really intrigues me.
It's interesting. I was talking to Lance Bertman, the head coach at Houston Baptist, a few weeks ago, and he couldn't say enough good things about Rutgers. He's like, man, they're really powerful. They're excellent top to bottom in their lineup because I actually liked some of their arms. He thought they were really, really good.
I'm just telling you guys, they are so physical. That catcher from Manhattan, I think is Nick Samillo, is, he's hitting like 5th or 6th, and he bangs the ball around. And the outfielders, Schieckhofer and Neister, and oh gosh, I'm forgetting the kid, the sophomore that hit a bunch of home runs last year, Ryan Lasko. They got some dudes. They really do, and they play with a different edge. I mean, it just looks different. So hey, let's not
forget about Purdue either. I know that they haven't played anybody, but they are 15-0. So it's a team that I'm very intrigued to see how they do once they get into conference. They're still 2 weeks away. They got Illinois State for 4 games this weekend, and then they have Ohio State to open Big Ten play. But so far, so good under Greg Goff. Those guys, it seems like they're playing well in all facets, just based on the numbers. And again, underwhelming schedule, but sometimes that's a good thing for a team to build some confidence heading into conference play.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Big Ten, there's got to be good reasons why you guys only play 24 league games, but we've got to change that like tomorrow. Like 24 league games, and then you throw in the Midwest weather. It's like you're going to play 22 games if you're lucky, and then you're going to pick a 13-team champion out of that. Let's just no bueno, not good.
Yeah.
It's like the schedule maker.
Yeah, I almost wonder if they're better off just doing like a pod system like they did last year, where you got these teams get together and maybe you play 4 games in a weekend, you play 2 games against one team, 2 against another, and just so you have more of a round robin kind of effect in the schedule because it's so unbalanced. Like it's so unbalanced right now. 13 teams, only 24 league games, and I don't know if the reason that they start later is because of the weather. They just don't have enough certainty, in the middle of March to start conference play. But I mean, it's not like Illinois State is known for its great weather, and that's where Purdue's going this weekend. So I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah, how about go south and play each other? Like they did. I mean, that league's got some finances, and why go south and play play a road game when you can go. I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm sure there's good reasons, but I don't like them. Boys, let's change gears. Big West, another league that has me a little bit confused right now. Who's winning the Big West? Fitzy used to live in that part of the country.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I think I'm going to stick with the Anteaters. I think that's our preseason pick. I can't remember. I know we had Irvine and Long Beach both ranked.
Yeah, it was Irvine because Irvine was like 20. Yeah. Well, they were like 19 to 21, and Long Beach State was barely in.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, Irvine's 10-6. They've won 3 out of their 4 weekends. I believe they lost the first. Well, no, I take that back. They lost the first weekend at Louisiana, which no shame in losing 2 out of 3. A solid Louisiana team on the road, and then won a good series against Grand Canyon. Lost 2 out of 3 at Oregon State. No shame in that either. Didn't get swept on the road against a top 10 team. And then a really good past week. Took 2 against Arizona State, 2 out of 3 against Iowa. So I like the fact that this is an older team that they knew they were going to be pretty good. They scheduled aggressively. I mean, that's a tough first month right there. 4 straight quality series plus some good midweeks in there. San Diego State a couple of times, which they won both those games. So 10-6 after that schedule, I feel very good about where they're at and where they're headed. I still really like their starting pitching. I still like their position player group. I know it's not super flashy, but I think they're the team to beat.
Who's that? Oh, Gordon Ingebrigtsen?
Ingebrigtsen.
Yeah, Shotgun just did a story on him.
It's great read. Yeah. Great read.
Drop down joker. I love it.
Very good. Kendall, are you going to stay Irvine, or what are you thinking there?
I think I'm going to stay Irvine. I mean, Long Beach State's really intriguing, assuming Luis Ramirez can come back. I mean, they've shown they can beat good teams, but I'll stick with the Anteaters. And by the way, can Cal Poly give my man Brooks Lee some help? I mean, they're sitting at 7-9, and he's only hitting .444, 3 bombs and 23 RBIs.
Look at the walk. Look at the walk to strikeout. You got that in front of you. What's that at now?
14 walks and 3 strikeouts and a 1.316 OPS.
I mean,
what's a man got to do?
It's insane. You got the best player in the country, and you got a losing record. I just that stinks. It's like you got to take advantage when you got that kind of a talent.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of goes back to our preseason discussion. Is like what's really unfortunate for Brooks is like I think it's going to be hard for him to win a National Player of the Year award if he has a team that's 10 or 12 games under 500.
Hey, hold that thought, Kendall. We're coming back to the Golden Spikes Award.
Okay.
Yes.
Spoiler.
Spoiler. But let's get through the other leagues, and that I think that might give us some other ideas. I'm gonna go. I want to go Cal Poly just for the sentimental factor, but I like that Drew Thorpe just dealt the other day. Like that's starting to make me feel better. But I got to go Long Beach. I feel like Long Beach is gonna. I just feel like now Luis Ramirez has to come back. Not for them to be an NCAA tournament team, but for them to be better than Irvine. That's a real advantage for them. Irvine's got good starters, but not a shove it Luis Ramirez guy. At least to me. So I'll go Long Beach there.
Are we sleeping on the Gauchos? 10-4 right now.
We are really.
Where they split 4 games against Oregon, who just won a series at Stanford. Took 2 out of 3 from the reigning Mountain West champs, Nevada. They're in pretty good spot. I feel like they're certainly a factor here as well.
I think there's other teams. The thing that's going to mess that league up in a good way, make it really fun, is I feel like the middle is probably a little bit better. I mean, Northridge has won some games. Cal Poly could sting you. Hawaii they're playing a very intriguing brand of baseball. I mean, like Rich Hill is coaching third base and he's coaching them up, and it's like it'll remind you of one of those old school San Diego teams. They just don't have a Brian Mattis on the mound. I mean, they gave Rutgers fits with the little game and the fake bunt steals and the whole deal. I mean, they're really into it. So yeah, you're right. The Gauchos are very interesting. They could be the ones. What about boys? Okay, here's another question I got for you. WCC, I'm going to set the over-under. This could be easy, but maybe not. I'm going to set the over-under on 1.5 bids to the NCAA tournament for the WCC. Over or under 1.5 NCAA tournament bids? They've been hard to come by for non-Power Fives.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say the under unless Gonzaga gets upset in the conference tournament. I mean, I think Gonzaga is the one team that's going to have a at-large caliber resume. Now, St. Mary's off to a good start at 14-3, Portland 11-4. BYU, and we like their club. They're 8-5. But then you kind of get into those, hovering around 500 teams, which I feel like is pretty typical. And then you got LMU as kind of a drag on the league RPI. They're 2-11. So
Crazy.
I don't know. Just the way it's shaping up, it feels like probably a one-bid league, assuming Gonzaga wins it.
Yeah, there's some sneaky wins on these resumes. Santa Clara just beat A&M, and then BYU taking the 3 games at ASU. That's actually turning out to not to be as much of a resume builder, but that's a fair point. What are you thinking here, Kendall?
I'm actually with Fitt. I think it's entirely too early to look at RPI, but I mean, if you look at the RPI right now, San Diego's already in the 40s and BYU's like 58. If you look at the remaining schedules, there's not a lot of games there where they can increase that RPI by a significant amount, and we know that the WCC is not getting the benefit of the doubt. So, I would stick with one unless they get upset. I actually agree with Fitt on that one.
Yeah, that's a spot on diagnosis, Dr. Fitt, right there. Gonzaga's got to be who we think they are. They've got to lose in that final game. That's how they get to. Look at that, problem solved.
I'll say this though, I'm impressed with the job that Brock Ungrich's is doing at USD. I mean, they take the series from Oregon opening weekend. Oregon just got through taking a series from Stanford on the road, and then they took care of business this past weekend against a GCU team that you've seen and you like. So Brock's done a really nice job at USD. So keep an eye on those guys. They have the second highest RPI right now at 40. Again, entirely too early to draw too many conclusions from it, but it gives you a little bit of a foundation kind of moving forward.
Yep, I like it. Boys, what about the American? What are we thinking about that league right now? That's a little confusing.
That one is characteristically confusing. I think it's always confusing. I mean, it's just a free-for-all. It's just a free-for-all like usual. And with Carson Whisenhunt officially not coming back for East Carolina, it was announced today that he tested positive. He said it was a supplement that he bought over the counter at a national health store. And whatever it is, he will not be eligible to pitch for East Carolina. And that changes the complexion of the race.
Yeah.
Now, East Carolina, for me, is still the best team, even without him. They've kind of righted the ship. They gone into a tailspin early, lost, started 1-5. Getting swept by Bryan, of course, and then 2 out of 3 to North Carolina. But since then, they had that nice LeClaire weekend, beat Indiana State, Michigan, Maryland. Took 2 out of 3 from St. Mary's, which had been 13-1 entering that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they're headed in the right direction. I still feel like that's the team I'm going to bet on if I got to bet on somebody. I mean, if you look at their numbers, East Carolina, they still haven't hit. I mean, a lot of their guys, their count on guys have gotten off to slow starts, and that will even out. Like those guys are too good of players; they'll get going. Josh Moylan, for instance, like hitting less than 100, like that guy can hit. Like it's just a slump, and it's baseball. But there's a number of guys like that they will heat up. But I mean, what do you make of Tulane right now? It's you win the series at La Tech, you win a series against Mississippi State, and you get swept by Evansville. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think of that team.
By the way, it's Shane Gray, the pitcher, the number 1 for Evansville, has his pin. Everyone needs to look him up on Twitter. He's really hilarious. He's got a pinned tweet. I forget who it was. I think it might have been Pitching Ninja had a tweet that said, where were you? What were you doing when Tommy Tanks took the game of baseball by storm? And Shane Gray quote tweeted it and said, pitching to him and rally or something like that. He was, he's funny. But yeah, it's like that. I'll say this about the American. It feels like the margins are going to be thin this year. UCF is really interesting. They've got a very good rotation. If that feels like somebody's winning that league by a game, it does not feel like there's a lot of separation.
Look at the past weekend. I mean, UCF loses a series with Florida. Houston goes on the road, loses a series to Louisiana. Then, of course, you have Tulane. I think I still probably lean East Carolina. And after that, I think I'm probably the most conviction in Tulane. I mean, they had a ridiculously bad weekend. But, I mean, they won a series at La Tech, which we all know is difficult to go to the Love Shack and win a series. They won a series against Mississippi State, who's pretty wobbly right now. But, they're 1-2s, pretty good in the rotation. I think, Michael Massey's kind of been up and down, but that's kind of what you expect out of a freshman. But I think Tulane's going to hit. I think they just had a really bad weekend, obviously.
And one thing about this league is there's not really a bottom. I mean, the worst record in the league is Cincinnati at 6-7. Everybody else is 500 or better. Even Wichita, after that slow start, has gotten back to 500. And Memphis is the surprise team. Team that nobody expected anything from, and Darren Schoenrock's farewell tour. They're 9-4. They just swept Samford on the road. Samford, of course, was the team that won their league last year in the SoCon. So I don't know if they're a factor or not, but right now they're there's something to keep an eye on.
USF kind of hanging around down there. I mean, yeah, that league's going to be interesting. How about, boys? What about Conference USA? How do we feel about that league right now? Speaking, I'm having a tough time parsing that one out.
Yeah,
that one. Yeah, go ahead, Kendall.
I think I actually still like Southern Miss right now. Kind of going into the season, I felt pretty good about La Tech. I just think Southern Miss's pitching is really good, and even this past weekend against Dallas Baptist, even though DB swept this series, they didn't sweep it because Southern Miss didn't pitch well. Southern Miss pitched really well the entire weekend. It's just they didn't get much going offensively, and it was one of those weekends where it was like 35 degrees in Dallas. Like, you're going to have off weekends offensively when that's the case. So I actually probably flipped my pick from Louisiana Tech to Southern Miss right now, actually.
Fitzy, what do you think?
Yeah, I like Southern Miss the most heading into the season. I still do, and Kendall's right; they pitched well. I watched some of that series. Hunter Riggins got really good stuff. Transfer from Delta State, who is in their rotation now, and it's kind of like a right-handed version of John Gaddis. Just like a lot of movement, can spin 2 different breaking balls. Got a really good changeup. I think it's a legit 4-pitch guy. You add him in there with Hurst and Waldrop, and I just think that they got 3 good guys, and they got a good bullpen, a lot of depth on that staff. But you know what? Old Dominion is scary, and they haven't played a great schedule so far, but they're 13-1. They did sweep Bryant, who, as we've mentioned, is capable of beating people. They swept ECU. They got so many guys back in that lineup, and my one question about ODU heading into the season was the pitching. Especially the starting pitching. And so far it's been pretty good. Tommy Gertner and Nick Pantos, those guys, they're not going to overpower you, but they got real pitchability. They got a lot of experience. You got 2, really go-to guys in the bullpen with lefty Jason Hartline and then Noah Dean, who throws 100 from the left side. Like, those guys both have 0 ERAs. They've been awesome. Who wants to face a lineup that has, Carter Trice and Andy Garriola and Tommy Bell and Kenny Lavari and Brad Gagliardi, all these guys, right? Petrossi, these guys put up numbers last year, and they're all back, and they put up numbers again. So I still feel like they're right there. Charlotte hasn't been healthy. They've really been hit hard by injuries, but as they get healthier, I still think they're a real factor, a regional caliber team. Florida Atlantic, always there. This feels like it's going to wind up being a 4-bid league for me.
Yeah. I'm going to go Florida Atlantic just to be old-fashioned. They've won 7 in a row, and it feels like there's really no bottom to this league outside of Rice. Rice is like the normal bottom of the league teams all have decent records coming out of the non-con. So that's going to be interesting. Would you guys say it's fair to assume that Conference USA, or let's say it this way, Conference USA is certainly trending to have more bids than the American right now? I think that's a fair statement.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Now it's a bigger league too, but
and by the way, Middle Tennessee, who's sitting at 6-10, just took a series from Auburn on the road this past weekend. And gets ODU at home this weekend. So that'll really be ODU's first big test of the year.
And how about UAB and Casey Dunn's first season over there? They're sitting at 11-4. Just took 2 out of 3 from Belmont. I believe they won a series at Southeastern Louisiana. Always a good program. So keep an eye on those guys. Frisky, the Blazers.
I love it. All right, boys, let's do this before we get to some Player of the Year awards. Here's what we're gonna do. Let's construct our Omahas by league, not by team. And I'm gonna allow you to go back and fix some things, but when we're done with this exercise, you got to be at 8. So we're gonna start with the obvious one, which would be the SEC. In 2022, how many SEC teams are going to be in Omaha this year? Kendall, you're going first.
2.
Gosh, that feels weird to say, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just don't have very much conviction in a lot of these teams.
Yep.
Maybe that'll change between now and May.
Yep.
I got 3. Between Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Arkansas, I still think LSU can get hot and get dangerous. I know they're vulnerable on the mound. I still think Florida is very dangerous. I still think Georgia's dangerous. I already told you could put on the board that Georgia's going to Omaha. I'm not backing away yet.
Take that.
Take that, Chris from Louisville. I'm not backing away from that yet. And they're 13-3.
We'll give you one more week.
They're 13-3. What do you want from me, Kendall? Come on, one more week. I'll give you one more
They
week.
survived the flurry of Brad bombs too. I mean, come on.
That's right. That's right. They did. Yeah, that's a telling series for them against Mississippi State this weekend. I think that's a great way. It's the only series this weekend between top 25 teams, but between all those teams and Mississippi State too. Don't forget them. I mean, there's going to be at least 3. I'd be shocked if there's less than 3.
Yep. Man, I'm gonna go. I wrote down 3, so let me just stick with that. But now I'm going to paint myself in a corner because the next question is ACC teams. Fitzy, I'm going to come to you. How many ACC teams are making Omaha? The musical chairs are starting to disappear on people.
Yeah. Florida State's going to Omaha.
All right.
And I'm going to say, I mean, even though it's a deep league, I think we all agree that it's deep this year. I don't know that I see a lot of elite teams there. I mean, as evidenced by the fact that we've not had any ACC teams in our top 5 yet this year. Notre Dame's good. Certainly Georgia Tech is explosive. North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson, all off the really good starts. I'm going to say 2 ACC teams in Omaha.
Kendall?
2 as well.
So that means you have 4 spots left, Kendall?
Correct.
Ooh. All right, I'm going to go 2, but man, it feels light. God, that feels light with Clemson lurking out there in North Carolina. Here's the truth. I'm just gonna put it out there. Those teams they feel really good. They don't feel like Omaha teams.
You don't feel like Omaha teams. I was just gonna say that. The only one that feels like an Omaha team to me is Florida State and maybe Notre Dame. And at this point, and maybe Georgia Tech. Everyone else, I'm still not convinced.
Yep. So I'm going 2. Pac-12 boys. Fitzy, you're kind of our California correspondent. What are you thinking on the Pac-12?
Am I? I guess so.
You're the only one that's ever had a driver's license in the state.
That's probably true. Yeah. I'm going to go 2. I'm going to go 2 with the Pac. The Beavers, I feel like I like their chances, and then somebody else. They always, and it could be, maybe it's more than that, but I feel like it's 2. Kendall?
2.
I'm going 1. Wah, wah. Disappointing. I live out here. I don't know. Like, I'm getting whipsawed by these teams. Like, Oregon State is the obvious choice, but man, that's a freshman, Jacob Kapatz, pitching on Saturday, boys. Like, not Sunday. He's pitching on Saturday now. And I mean, we don't know about Fennings. I mean, that would really help, even though he's never gone deep in games. I mean, the guy averages less than 5 innings per start over 4 years. But their offense, their defense, I mean, Oregon State feels obvious. Arizona looks great, then they don't look great, then they look great. Stanford, same thing. They look great, they don't look great. Oregon, they look great, they don't look great. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting whipsawed around by these teams.
I'm going to change.
I kind of like Arizona and Stanford as my 2 teams. Because the reality is, when you look at Arizona, I believe in their pitching in the postseason. They've been there. And the same kind of goes for their offense. The majority of their offense were key components of that run in Omaha last year. So, yeah.
So I didn't do the math ahead of time because you sprung this question on us. I'm gonna change my answer to 1. I hate to do it.
You're allowed to. Yeah, we're allowed to go back and
because totally I got 2.
Hashtag flip flopper.
I got 2 Big 12 teams. We got to make room.
That's right. Okay. Big 12, KR. That's your domain.
The Big 12. Give me 2. I'm going to go with Texas and 1 of Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, or TCU will get there. I feel like 2 is a good number. Look at that parity, guys. I got 2, 2, 2, 2.
Look at that.
Suck up.
Again, Kendall's
politician, man.
Yeah, his political skills very underrated. If you need someone to spin something or jiff it up, Kendall, absolutely highly skilled.
Will you guys be in my cabinet when I run for president someday?
I'll be in your kitchen cabinet.
Stephen Schott can be our Secretary of Defense.
Let's go. Fitzy, what'd you decide on the Big 12?
Yeah, it's 2. It's national champion Oklahoma State and Texas are going to be there.
I'm going 1. I hate to do that, man. I'm really getting to be a miser. Do you have any bids left, Fitzy, or you have 1 left?
I'm out. That's it.
You have 8, all Power 5.
3 SEC, 2 ACC, 2 Big 12, 1 ACC.
I would not be shocked, boys, if somebody, assuming like Luis Ramirez is healthy, like Long Beach State would be the perfect team to get to Omaha with their pitching.
Yeah. Kendall, you have how many spots left?
0. I'm all Power 5 as well.
So I got one spot left. I'll be the guy for that. So the question becomes, to your point, Kendall, where's that team coming from? I think the leagues that are top of mind for me are, I feel like the Big West is a definite option. I feel like the American is a definite option, even though I don't feel as sturdy about that as I did a month ago. I feel like Conference USA is an option.
Yeah.
I don't see any Omaha teams in the Big Ten right now. I could be wrong about Maryland, certainly.
I actually would love to see somebody from CUSA, especially with like the climb that CUSA's made over the last couple of years. I'd like to see somebody from that league get in there.
Yeah. Yeah, like a Southern Miss, a Florida Atlantic, like one of those teams, they draw the right regional. They they've been there enough that they you don't want to see them in the postseason, I don't think.
Or La Tech, certainly.
Yeah, any of those teams. So
ODU.
very good.
Just wait for La Tech to win the Oxford Regional when Ole Miss is the number 1 national seed.
But
I
by the way,
really
guys,
see Conference USA getting that's the one conference, and Big West also. I think between Irvine, Long Beach, maybe Santa Barbara, but CUSA feels like they got real contenders. Like those 4 teams we talked about, they're real contenders.
Well, it's like La Tech and Southern Miss both have really, really good weekend rotations and a lot of experience in those weekend rotations.
And here's what's interesting, guys. I feel like the Power 5 teams have felt a little bit more mortal than in some years. Yeah. So, we all leaned heavily into Power 5 teams in this exercise, but it does feel like, I don't know, it's gonna be so.
The SEC, well, it's a lot of it's because the SEC West has been so vulnerable this year.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, just kind of that like feeling kind of permeates the other leagues as well. But like the ACC, for the most part, the ACC is taking care of business.
But I mean, like, is the SEC West that vulnerable? I mean, I get why you would say that. Like Mississippi State stumbled; they're 10-7. Okay, we still have them in the top 25. Yeah. I know you could argue maybe we shouldn't, but I mean, everybody is at least 10-7. Like they're all winning records. Ole Miss is 13-2. LSU, for all your concerns about their pitching, they're still sitting there at 13-3. Arkansas, I know, like it feels like they haven't dominated like they did last year. They're 11-3, guys. Like we're nitpicking. Auburn's 13-4. I know they had a bad weekend, but like all these teams, Bama's 12-5. A&M has been vulnerable. They're still 10-5. Like, is it really that down?
Here's why I'm nitpicking them.
They don't pass the eyeball test.
Yeah, they don't pitch the way they normally do, and a lot of that has to do with injuries. But here's the other thing: like this is the time of year where the SEC schools have every advantage. They're more Southern than who they're playing. They're never leaving home unless it's a neutral site tournament. Like I feel like they should have those records, and I think Kendall's point is probably where I come down. That's the main point, right? It's just when you don't have pitching I can believe in, man, I start to get wobbly on you. Like it's LSU, like that's a lot of pressure to put on that offense. And you make a couple errors late in a postseason game and it can get hairy fast.
LSU is like the same team Arizona was last year. If they can, like Kendall said last year with Arizona, if they can manage to post a 4.5 ERA, they'll be in Omaha because they mash. Yeah. They mash. Mm-hmm. And their defense is shaky, just like Arizona's was last year, but it seems like their defense is a lot shakier than Arizona's was last year.
The only thing is, though, Fitt, like I feel better about Arizona's pitching staff last year than I do about LSU's this year. I mean, if you look at Arizona last year, you had TJ Nichols, Dawson Netz, Garrett Irvin, Runes, who was the other Quinn Flanagan. I mean, Quinn Flanagan ate up innings. Yep. Like he would beat LSU's weekend rotation. So,
by the way, Chandler Murphy threw today for Arizona. That helps them a little bit. I mean, if he didn't throw well, but him coming back from injury would be a big.
I mean, Arizona's numbers weren't great on the mound last year, with some of those arms, but like they had some talent. Mm-hmm. Like I think my argument with LSU is like outside of a few guys, like I don't see a lot of elite talent. Grant Taylor could be that guy. I mean, he was up to 96 as Shriners, but I mean Riley Cooper. Bryce Collins, guys like that. I mean,
what about Eric Reiselman? He's been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a big arm for sure.
He's got a 0 ERA and 14-1 strikeout walk in eight innings. Like that's pretty darn good.
Boys, if you don't mind, can I be an SEC homer for a moment? I wanna throw something out there. So this week the SEC starts.
Okay.
And I've already said it once on this podcast. I'm going to say it again. Make sure that they can hear me in the back row. It's the best regular season in college baseball. End of story. It's so awesome. 10 straight weeks, no breaks for finals, incredible fan bases, incredible facilities. Their conference tournament is the biggest and the best. Hey, even the way Ben Beatty does every night, if you're a member of the media, you get every box score for the SEC in your email box. I've shared that with every other league that will listen to me, and I get it. Like these people work their tails off, and this would be extra. But you know what? The SEC does it, and it's just the way they invest in baseball and the way the passion, the interest, all those things, even the way they do the regular season. And if you don't have an even number of teams, I guess that's problematic. The ACC has an even number though, right, Fitzy? It's 14.
Yeah, same as the SEC.
Yeah, so the 10 straight weeks is amazing. It is just absolutely amazing. I don't know. I just I know there's great players and great coaches in every league all over the country. I'm not saying, the SEC is the best league in college baseball, but we're going to find out. That's why we play the games. But as far as their regular season, their tournament, the fanfare, there's just no comparison. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but it's just their regular season is amazing.
Yep.
Would agree.
They got the Thursday night game too, which I think is a nice showcase.
I like the Thursday night game. It's a shame. The only thing that stinks about Thursday night games is they don't get the crowds. But you know what they do? They get the national TV audience. Like, we're all watching the Thursday night game, so it's kind of genius in that regard. But man, and then Hoover is, like Fitzy, you and I don't really go to Hoover anymore. You don't go to Hoover anymore, do you?
I haven't been since I started working with Kendall. He hogs it all himself.
Yeah, I did get to go a couple years ago, and it was a bucket list item. I would say to any baseball fan, like, conference tournaments are really fun, period. But the SEC, the Hoover is like, just off the charts amazing. It's the Mardi Gras of college baseball. So anyway, that even though the SEC is a little weird this year, that's really fun. Like, their regular season starting this weekend, it's freaking awesome. It's like there's no bye weeks to catch your breath. It's like, strap it on and we'll see you in 10 weeks. Look at Evan.7. Hey, by the way, Ben, congratulations on your baby. That's awesome. I don't know if you named your baby Kendall or not, but the quality name. Oh, that's great. Yes, it's not a thank you for that. That's awesome. Ben had a baby during the baseball season. Really cool.
Good
all
timing.
Right, boys. Yes, gotta love it. Hey, let's do player of the year, position player, and let's do a pitcher of the year too, because I think that's a little murky. Let's do Golden Spikes. Who's winning the Golden Spikes this year? Kendall made a really good point about Brooks Lee earlier.
Yeah, like, I love Brooks Lee, but I just don't think he's going to win it playing for that team.
Mercer 15-1.
I know that's
speaking
not
of
fair.
Dimitri. Sorry. Yeah, that's it, and it's also the West Coast. I mean, it's like they need like a slogan or something. You know what they need? Here's what Cal Poly should do. They should do a video with the music from The Natural of Larry Lee and Brooks Lee playing catch in the outfield at Cal Poly Stadium, or Larry Lee throwing BP to his son and Brooks Lee hitting a ball off the light standard and shattering. I mean, let me be doing your work for you, Cal Poly. I mean, let's get a campaign going.
Two names I would keep an eye on for this. Jake Geloff of Virginia. And how about, guys, Kevin Parratta at Georgia Tech? I know Aaron saw him last week, but Parratta's hitting .455, and he's got 13 walks and 6 strikeouts. And he's got big time power, 8 home runs, 28 RBIs. Those are phenomenal numbers.
Yeah.
And in that lineup too, like he could have 80 RBIs, right? Like, he could go off numerically.
Absolutely. And you know what? He's gotten better as a catcher too. That was the first name that came to mind for me as a candidate. But, I think I'm going to go with Jace Young. I think Jace Young is going to make a run at Texas Tech right now.
Where's he at right now, Fitzy? Do you have his numbers in front of you?
He's hitting 354, 500 OBP, 569 slugging, only 3 homers, more walks than strikeouts. So, I mean, like, it's good numbers. It's not Golden Spikes numbers. We're only 3-4 weeks into the season. So, I don't know. Maybe it needs to be somebody who's got more of a head start.
I will say this about Jace. The only thing that concerns me about him and his ability to rack up really good power numbers this year is the fact that he just doesn't have near as much help in that lineup as he has in the past. So I think what's going to happen as he gets into conference play, I think schools are going to start kind of pitching around him a little bit, and it's going to be hard for him to rack up the kind of those gaudy numbers that he had last year.
Boy, Kevin Parratta is a great call, KR. Like that. I feel
Well,
like
I mean, I
20
just
and
went.
80
I
is
mean,
right
that's
there on
not
the
really
table.
going on a limb, but like I didn't actually realize that his walk to strikeout ratio was so good.
Yeah. I'm
He's
gonna
a
go.
really hit.
I'm gonna go Brooks Lee just for the sentimental factor, and maybe it's like
Sure.
Andrew Vaughn part two. I don't know. Yeah, I could. I mean, Brooks Lee's obviously going off, but that's going to be interesting. Like, there's not obvious answers there. That race is still very much that award's gettable in a big way right
Oh
now.
yeah, wide
How about
Wide
open.
open.
wide open? Yep, well said, boys. Pitcher of the year. What? Any strong opinions on this? Fitzy, why don't we start with you on pitcher of the year?
Yeah, that's another good one.
I know who I want to say, but he's the second best pitcher on his own team.
Yeah, yeah. So this is interesting. So I mean, I think one of those Florida State guys. I mean, they could battle each other for it.
Yep.
Messick and Hubbard. If you look at the national strikeout leaders, those guys are both within 2 of the national strikeout lead. They both have 40, 43, I think, 44. And again, I always look at that strikeout walk. Messick 44 strikeouts, 6 walks. Hubbard 43 strikeouts, 7 walks. But opponents hitting like 150 or less against these guys. I mean, numbers are awesome. So yeah, I mean, I think I lean Messick, even though his ERA right now is early, is a run higher than Hubbard. I like one of those 2 guys though. I really do.
Yeah, man, Hubbard is just. I mean, he's more. I'm just gonna say it. Hubbard's more naturally gifted than Messick for me, but Messick is the guy. Like if I had to win one college baseball game, Game 3 of a Super this year to go to Omaha, I'm giving the ball to Parker Messick. Like I'm in a dark alley and I need someone I can trust with a very high bar fight meter reading. That's Parker Messick, even though he's a very Christian, awesome kid, but he's absolutely ferocious on the mound. Kendall, you have a strong opinion on this one?
I do not. I think Messick is a really good pick. Given the fact that Tanner Witt's out for the year, I think Pete Hansen is still my pick. I just think he's going to continue to have a really good year, and I think Texas gets to Omaha, and I don't know if they'll win the national championship, but if they can get to Omaha and make a run, he's going to be a major, major part of it, and he's going to have great numbers.
Fitzy, what about Jonathan Cannon? Are we did you see what his strikeout to walks are right now? 28-1.
That'll play.
But it's not enough strikeouts, is it? It's 28 punch outs in 26 innings. That might be a little shy.
I'll tell you who to keep an eye on is Hunter Barco.
Yeah.
34 strikeouts to 2 walks in 23 innings with an ERA in the ones. So, it's a first-team All-American who's performing like it.
How about my boy Zebulon Matthews? Zebby Matthews doing it again. Thomas Seshelman Light, Western Carolina. 33 punchies and 2 walks. But
Runes, I'm disappointed. Go ahead, Aaron.
He was on your Wawa's team. What's it called?
Yeah, he's on the Delco Boat Racers. Thank you.
Boat Racers.
Yes, he is. He's
Runes, I'm disappointed you didn't pick your man Nate Savino. How about that guy?
Yeah, that's a cool story, by the way. Like Nate Savino, he comes into college baseball early during the pandemic year. He might have been a top 10 pick. His first 2 years of college baseball were just not good. They just weren't. He didn't miss any bats. And now, Fitz, your piece this weekend on him was awesome. I mean, now he's like just carving people up. I mean, what he did, and here's the other thing, like everybody throws a million miles an hour now, and it's exciting, but it's also fairly common. Nate Savino, like 100-pitch complete game. Come on now. Like that's like a pink unicorn running across the field.
What I like is everybody nowadays is chasing the spin rate, and the pitching up in the zone with the 4-seam. Like that's the way the game has gone at all levels of baseball, from the big leagues on down. I don't understand why we don't have more guys sinking the ball. If the hitters are swinging out of their shoes going for home runs, why don't we just try to get ground balls? I mean, I'm sure the analytics tell me I'm an idiot because otherwise they wouldn't be doing it, right? But like that's what he does. He's a low spin, like 1,700 to 2,000 RPM sinker guy, all exclusively 2-seamers, 1993. It's got deception. He's pitching to both sides of the plate. I still don't think the slider is, like a knockout pitch, but it definitely has gotten better from last year. And, that sinker plays. It plays. And right now he's got a lot of confidence going. He's much more, in line mechanically. I mean, he's become This was our question about UVA heading into the year was, do they have the pitching, and especially do they have a number one? They, Andrew Abbott was such a huge part of that team last year. We wanted to see if Nate Savino could step into that role, and so far so good. I mean, he was awesome at Duke. He really was. No walks either. Just a very efficient outing.
Virginia's got talent too, by the way, Fitzy. I think that's the thing that when I've watched them, I come out there thinking, then, like they look the part in a lot of ways. That's a good looking club.
Yeah, and the other question I guess we had was left side of the infield. I think Griff O'Farrell, the true freshman shortstop, is the real deal. I really like what I see out of that guy too. So that's a key. I mean, whenever you have a true freshman at shortstop, that's always like that gave us pause about NC State and Duke also heading into the season. Inexperienced catcher and shortstop, but he's right there. With Mooney and with probably better than Peyton Green at NC State. Like he's a guy. He's a guy.
And he's got State Geloff next to him, which definitely in the hashtag of the year running
stud.
Right there.
What a stud that guy's. That's your national OPS leader, by the way, Jake Geloff. I love the fact that he hit a ball off the hit bowl win stake sign at Durham Bulls Athletic Park, and so they promptly tweeted the stake Geloff, which was perfect.
Love it.
Wonderful hashtag. But I mean, he's a great baseball player, and the comp I made for him is Justin Turner. I think he's that kind of guy. Ooh. Like physically and just the quality of his at bats. I think he played good third base or second base. And Turner, of course, played second at Fullerton. I think he'll hit for average, draw a lot of walks. And Justin Turner wound up hitting for power in the big leagues. He didn't at Fullerton, but he did in the big leagues. So I think Geloff could be a 25 home run a year guy, play good defense at third base. I could see it.
Fitzy, can I steer the jury? We'll wrap on this for when we pick our series this week, and Dimitri at 11.7. You guys need to jump in on some of these too. Can I lobby to have FAU at USM included, and also Cal at USC? I would like included.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you're muted, KR.
No, I was going to say, how about the Trojans over the weekend getting the big series win over UCLA?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I don't know if
I
that
have no idea what to think of them.
Yeah, if that makes me more nervous about UCLA or hey, we know Jason Gill can coach, right? Like he did a really nice job at LMU. If you look closely at his resume at LMU, they didn't make a lot of NCAA tournaments, but gosh dang, they were like the bridesmaid 100 times.
Yeah, I don't think they made any, did they?
Well, remember they upset UCLA in 2019?
That's right. You're right. Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, they kind of sent UCLA. That was the first landed punch on UCLA. That and then Michigan obviously finished that off in the super regionals. But I'm with Dimitri. Like USC, those top guys: Ryland Thomas, Tyrus Turner, DeAndre Smith. I mean, they've got three kind of jitterbugs at the front, critters, if you will, Fitzy. That like they were on base all weekend against UCLA. So very interesting.
Yeah.
Boys, well done. Hey, I am so excited for Thursday night. For everyone that's here that listens to this podcast, we are converting ourselves to Twitter Spaces. Plural or singular? What is it, KR?
Twitter Space? I think it's Twitter Spaces.
Twitter Spaces. So either way, you follow these guys on Twitter. So we're going to do that. It's audio on Thursday night for our series preview. That was really fun. It provided great interaction. So we're going to do that. And that is it. Boys, well done. Well, the best part of the podcast, by the way, the Boog intro. I mean, come on now. Who's better than Boog? Nobody.
He's the man.
He is the GOAT. So that is it. Everybody have an awesome week, and we will catch you Thursday.